It's about asking an open-ended question that will get your coachee to think at a deeper level. And so here's where you can use AI, right? Because not all of us are, Aristotle. We don't think that way. We think about quick, efficient, how can we get to this? So, for example, and here's the show and tell part. Let's say you were coaching somebody who is not meeting performance metrics or they're not reaching their goals. You can go into AI, just, AI.com, ChatGPT, the one that most people are using, but you can do this with Claude, you can use this with Bart, and you can ask them to help you, right? So you can go in with a really quick scenario. I'm coaching, you type in the prompt. I'm coaching an employee who is struggling to meet performance metrics, right? And you can say, please generate a short list of questions. Otherwise, you'll get too many. Believe me, I've done this enough. That will help me get to the heart of what they may be struggling with. And here's the key. Please help me come across fair, empathetic, and curious.
Oh,
right. So you can add those types of things to your questions so that they don't give you a list of questions that sound like you're robotic.
Right.
That you really sincerely care and are curious, right? So here's the prompt. We just put an example. Let's see what it gives us. I mean, I've done this time and time again with different scenarios. I have no idea what it's going to generate.
Right. Yeah, like here we go. We're figuring this out.
Here we go, right? Can you share more about the specific challenges you're facing with meeting these metrics? Are there particular tasks or aspects of your role that you feel are more difficult or overwhelming lately, right?
Yeah.
I would think it would come up with something like, are there any challenges or obstacles right now that you feel are getting in the way of reaching your performance goals, right? And there it is. There's something similar. So, again, this is such a great thing to get you off center, right? Because it's like anything else. I don't want you to be a cover band. I want you to make these your own, right? So try them on, say them out loud. How would you adjust it so that it's more of how you would say something?
Right.
But it gets you off center. Then how you're going to start the conversation.
And nowhere in here is this like, how's it going question that I get myself stuck in. And then the conversation becomes so specific to that project that I've asked about that we don't get into that deeper level of reflection that I can see right off the bat. Those questions are going to start priming at a very different level of thoughtfulness or of reflection on the part of the person in the room with me. I loved the adding sort of the attributes that you wanted to come across in tone. I'm imagining leaders who've gotten some 360 or some type of feedback where they know that maybe they come across as arrogant. And I could prompt then and say, make sure that my questions leave me, project humility, or yes, if there's been any indication in 360 that I may play favorites or be partial to some, make sure I sound really fair and objective in these questions. I think that's a great way to have AI almost coach me on my own tone through the questions that I ask.
Absolutely. I mean, the one I think we hear most often is that, leaders can have feedback that they're too direct.
Yeah.
Right? And this resonates with me. I was a leader for 13 years in corporate. And what I found out is that when I get some feedback, I want some bread around the pill. You know how when you give a dog a pill, you can either, open their mouth and shove it, or you can put some bread around it.
Right.
Well, I like bread around the feedback that I get, but somehow when I was giving feedback, I tended to put very little bread around it. And I'm just being, honest. I know it came from this need to be efficient. Let's move.
Yeah.
People would come into my office. I'd be like, what's up? Well, to some people that's very off-putting, right? Yeah. And I get it. And so this idea that, you can use AI to say, you can even put in there, help me formulate questions that don't come across too direct. Where I put some padding around the question.
Right. Interesting. Sound considerate and thoughtful, or sound kind and generous even.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, whatever it takes.
Interesting. Okay. I love that as a cue. Shelby's backstage with us. Shelby, did we have a second prompt around questions that we want to play with a little bit? Because I'm intrigued by the kinds of questions that really help learners get more self-reflective, perhaps.
Yeah, I think the one that we talked about is, what if you already kind of know, right? So let's say there was a scenario where you were in a meeting with an employee and the meeting didn't go well, or as they anticipated, or as they hoped, and they were the one that was presenting, right?
Okay.
And so you could say,
hey, that didn't go very well, did it?
Yeah. You could say, hey, that didn't go well. What do you think happened? Which kind of puts the person on the defense. They're already feeling bad. You could say, hey, I'm coaching an employee who recently facilitated a meeting. It didn't achieve the results she expected. What are 3 questions I can ask to help her explore alternative approaches that could have led to her desired outcome?
There we go.
This is wordier than it needed to be. That was me, not not Shelby. And so, there you go.
Well,
looking back on the meeting, what do you think worked well and what could have been improved? If you were to facilitate the same meeting again, what might you do differently to guide it toward the outcomes you wanted? Right? And so you more graciously and elegantly lead your coachee to sort of come up with their own solutions.
This one just hits a little too close to home. I really did have feedback one time. I taught a class, and I mean, it was going to go on for multiple days. This was just the first time. And the director of the program sat down with me at the dinner that was happening afterwards. And he really did say, that didn't go well, did it? And I was like, oh, ouch.
Yeah.
And then it left me, instead of reflecting on what I thought didn't go well, I started to tailspin into what didn't he like? What did he think went wrong?
Right.
Am I even seeing the things that he saw? And I was so embarrassed that he was so blunt about it that, it took me a minute to recover and probably didn't do my best processing because of the.
Well, I was going to say it's a distraction because then you're all consumed with being judged. And what others might have taken away, rather than moving quickly to, okay, how can I do this differently? Which is what you want.
Well, and I want folks on the team to learn to self-evaluate. And if I'm already there making that judgment, making that call, then I'm always in that role. They never, it's the guy that wrote Flow, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, he's got this great quote. Wait a minute, I don't want to mess it up, so let me find it because I've got it around here somewhere. Here. Some individuals have developed such strong internal standards that they no longer need the opinion of others to judge whether they performed a task well or not. The ability to give objective feedback to oneself is in fact the mark of an expert. I want my team to be experts. I want them all to have this ability to give objective feedback to themselves. Yes. I mean, and then when you were talking about how laborious and time consuming coaching is, it starts becoming less and less time consuming because I'm doing less and less of the evaluative work as the employees are doing it themselves.
Yeah, and let's not forget too that the other reason we ask questions, because to some people it feels gratuitous, like, oh gosh, you want me to do the Socratic method where I just keep asking questions. I feel like a counselor. Don't get me wrong. There's a point at which you ask 1 or 2 open-ended questions, and then you move to, are you open to what I observed, type of thing, right?
Okay.
But the other reason we ask questions is because coaching is also a way to gather data. So you've gathered data beforehand, right? You either observed or you've heard secondhand, right? Something didn't go right or needs to be addressed. But by asking your coachee a question, you're collecting another data point. Yeah. What is it that they see here? Do they have any inclination of how they just impacted somebody in that meeting? Mm-hmm. Or are they completely unaware of their blind spot, right? So there's lots of reasons for asking these open-ended questions.
Right.
It's not just self-reflection.
Yeah. And you start at a totally different place in the conversation if that person is already aware of the impact that they had, the 3 things they did that led to that impact, the ways they wish they could change their behavior in order to get to the outcome that they wanted. I'm going back to that question that you prompted. That's a totally different conversation than someone who, when you ask, how do you think things went? What was that first question ChatGPT gave us back? The what went well, what could have been different, right. Looking back on the meeting, what do you think went well? Oh yeah, no, scroll back down. It was after the second question, Shelb, sorry.
In the meeting, yeah. What do you think went well?
What do you think worked well and what could have been improved? And if the person is just like, oh, that was a slam dunk, everything was great. Like, okay, wow, we're starting at a different place here in the conversation, aren't we?
Right.
Yeah. So again, data, though, really useful data to know that that's what the person has said.